There is soil in the Amazon rainforest that has been feeding humans for 2,000 years, without a single bag of fertilizer. Not 200 years, 2,000. Radiocarbon dating confirms it. This soil was created by pre-Columbian civilizations, and it is still more fertile today than anything modern agriculture can produce. The Amazon rainforest sits on some of the poorest soil on Earth. Nutrients leach away in days. Crops planted in virgin jungle soil fail within 3 seasons. Yet scattered across this biological desert are patches of black earth so rich they grow vegetables without fertilizer, without compost, without any input at all. Modern scientists call it Terra Preta, Portuguese for black earth. Indigenous peoples call it i.e. Wekagu, ancient earth. And for 500 years, Western academia insisted it was impossible. Not because the soil doesn't exist. It demonstrably exists. Because acknowledging it exists means acknowledging that indigenous civilizations created something modern agriculture cannot replicate. And that acknowledgement threatens a $200 billion industry built on selling fertility that depletes. This is the soil they buried, not with earth, with silence. February 1541. Spanish conquistador Francisco de Orellana becomes the first European to navigate the full length of the Amazon River. His expedition is starving, desperate, lost in what they assume is uninhabited wilderness. Then they see smoke, then villages, then cities. Orellana documents settlements stretching for leagues along the riverbanks. He describes cultivated fields producing abundant food. He estimates populations in the tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands, living in permanent settlements with sophisticated agriculture. He writes that these people grow food in soil so fertile it requires no fallow periods, no shifting cultivation, no burning. The earth simply produces, year after year. His reports reach Spain. Scholars read them. They declare him a liar, because European understanding of tropical agriculture insisted that rainforest soil was poor, thin, unable to support dense populations or intensive farming. Orellana's reports contradicted this assumption. Therefore, Orellana must be fabricating. For 400 years, his accounts were dismissed as conquistador fantasy. By the time European settlers returned to colonize the Amazon in the 1800s, the cities Orellana described were gone. Disease had swept through. Smallpox, measles, diseases that killed 90% of indigenous populations within a century of contact. The cities collapsed. The fields returned to jungle. And the settlers who arrived saw only wilderness. This confirmed European assumptions. The Amazon was naturally empty. Indigenous peoples were primitive. Intensive agriculture was impossible in tropical rainforest. They promoted slash and burn as the only viable agricultural model for rainforests. Cut trees, burn them for temporary nutrient release, plant for a few years, abandon when fertility depletes, repeat elsewhere. This model required minimal labor, no soil improvement, no permanent infrastructure, perfect for extractive colonial economies. Rubber, timber, quick profit, move on. But then in the 1960s, a Dutch soil scientist named Wim Sombroek started noticing something strange. Wim Sombroek was surveying Amazonian soils for his doctoral research when he encountered patches of earth that didn't fit any known soil classification. They were black, deep black, not the pale yellows and reds of typical rainforest soil. They were rich with organic matter, up to 3 times more carbon than surrounding soil. And they were fertile, absurdly fertile. Farmers told him these patches never needed fertilizer. You could plant the same field for decades, generations, and yields never declined. Some families had been farming the same plot for a century without depletion. Sombroek excavated. He found pottery shards, animal bones, charcoal, lots of charcoal, ancient, stable, unchanging charcoal, mixed throughout the soil matrix. This was not natural soil. This was engineered soil, created deliberately by pre-Columbian civilizations. He published his findings in 1966. He named it Terra Preta Nova, Black Earth of the Indians. He documented sites across the Amazon basin, hundreds of square kilometers of anthropogenic fertile soil, some deposits 3 to 6 feet deep. Academic response was hostile, because Sombroek's findings meant Orellana had been right. The Amazon had supported large, permanent populations with intensive agriculture. Indigenous peoples had not been primitive hunter-gatherers. They had been sophisticated engineers. Beat. And solving tropical soil infertility permanently means you cannot sell fertilizer to tropical farmers annually. The global fertilizer market in the 1960s was exploding. The Green Revolution was underway. Norman Borlaug's high-yield wheat varieties required massive synthetic fertilizer inputs. Companies like Yara, CF Industries, and Nutrien were building empires on selling nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Every farm, every season, forever. Terra Preta violated this model. Create fertility once, harvest forever, no purchases, no dependency. So Sambrook's research was marginalized. Funding dried up. His soil samples gathered dust in university storage. Subsequent researchers were discouraged from pursuing the topic. The narrative remained. Tropical agriculture requires external inputs. Permanent fertility is impossible. And Sambrook watched his discovery disappear. But soil doesn't lie. And Terra Preta was still there, still growing food, still defying everything modern agriculture claimed was necessary. So let's talk about what this soil actually is, because the mechanism is even more threatening to the fertilizer industry than the longevity. Beat. The secret is biochar, charcoal created through low oxygen burning of organic material. When you burn wood in open air, it becomes ash, minerals that wash away in first rain. When you burn wood in restricted oxygen, it becomes biochar, pure carbon lattice that lasts millennia. 1 gram of biochar has internal surface area exceeding 300 square meters, roughly the size of a tennis court folded into something smaller than a sugar cube. Beat. This structure creates habitat for soil microbes. Bacteria, fungi. Modern agricultural soil contains roughly 1 billion microbes per gram. Terra Preta contains 3 billion. These microbes don't just exist, they work. They break down organic matter. They fix nitrogen from air. Terra Preta holds 60% more water than surrounding soil. It holds 3 times more nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium. And these nutrients don't leach away because the biochar holds them in its porous structure until plants need them. This is biological engineering. 2,000 years ago, creating something modern agriculture cannot match. Pre-Columbian Amazonians didn't understand microbiology. They didn't have electron microscopes or soil labs. They just observed that burning organic waste in specific ways created better soil. And they did it deliberately, systematically, for centuries. The formula was simple. Mix charcoal from cooking fires with food scraps, pottery shards, fish bones, human waste. Let it compost. Add to fields. Repeat for generations. The pottery shards weren't trash. They provided calcium and helped structure. The bones provided phosphorus. The charcoal provided permanent habitat for microbes and nutrient storage. The organic waste fed the microbes. Within a generation, soil fertility improved. Within a century, it was permanent. Within 500 years, entire landscapes were transformed into dark, rich earth capable of supporting cities. Orellana was right. The cities existed. The populations existed. The agriculture existed, all made possible by soil that indigenous engineers created. And modern science is finally, reluctantly, admitting it. In 2003, researchers at Cornell University conducted trials adding biochar to degraded agricultural soil. Crop yields increased 20 to 220% in first year. Nutrient retention improved dramatically. Water holding capacity increased. Beneficial microbial populations exploded. By 2010, over 500 peer-reviewed studies confirmed Biochar's effects. Australia, Japan, China, Kenya. Trials across every continent showed the same results. Permanent soil improvement, fertility that doesn't deplete, agriculture that doesn't require annual fertilizer purchases. The mechanism Amazonian peoples discovered 2,000 years ago works. It has always worked. Modern science just spent 6 decades refusing to study it seriously. Because acknowledging Terra Preta works means acknowledging modern agriculture is designed for profit, not sustainability. That fertility can be permanent, but we've built systems requiring depletion. That the solution to soil exhaustion was solved millennia ago, and we buried it. Today, biochar is legal. You can buy it commercially, but it's marketed as soil amendment, something you add occasionally, like fertilizer. not as something you create once and maintain, not as foundation of permanent agricultural system, as product, as purchase. Beat, the fertilizer industry adapted. They couldn't suppress the science anymore, so they commodified it, turned permanent solution into recurring purchase. But you don't need to buy biochar. You can make it, the way Amazonians did for centuries. Any organic material can become biochar. Yard waste, agricultural residue, wood scraps, burned in a container with restricted airflow, a barrel with holes, a trench with cover, even a pit with dirt on top. The char that results lasts centuries in soil. One application, if done properly with organic matter mixed in, can improve fertility for generations. This is what they don't want you doing: creating permanent fertility, exiting the fertilizer market, achieving agricultural independence. Terra Preta represents something modern agriculture cannot tolerate: proof that sustainability is possible. That soil can be built, not just depleted and replaced with chemicals. That indigenous peoples possessed knowledge superior to industrial systems. For 500 years, Western science dismissed Orellana's reports because they contradicted assumptions about indigenous capabilities and tropical agriculture. When Sambroke provided physical evidence in the 1960s, funding disappeared because the implications threatened economic systems built on depletion. The soil that refuses to die was buried not with earth, but with deliberate ignorance. But indigenous Amazonians created something that outlasted their civilizations. The cities fell to disease. The populations collapsed. But the soil they made remained. 2,000 years later, it still grows food without fertilizer, still holds water through drought, still supports microbial communities 3 times denser than modern agricultural soil. The question isn't whether Terra Preta works. The question is why, after 60 years of scientific validation, it remains a curiosity rather than agricultural standard practice. And the answer isn't scientific. It's economic. You cannot patent biochar. You cannot force farmers to purchase it annually. You cannot build dependency when fertility becomes permanent. The global fertilizer market exists because modern agriculture depletes soil. NPK fertilizers provide nutrients but don't build soil structure or biology. Each year, more fertilizer is needed to achieve the same yield. This is not a flaw, it's the business model. Terra Preta breaks the treadmill. Build fertility once, maintain with organic matter, harvest forever, so the method remains marginalized, academic, experimental, something for permaculture hobbyists. But the soil doesn't care about industries or narratives. Terra Preta exists. You can visit it, you can touch it, you can grow food in 2,000-year-old fertility, and you can create it. The method is simple. The materials are free. The results are permanent. You're not buying a product. You're learning a process that indigenous Amazonians perfected 2,000 years ago. Every patch of soil improved with biochar is soil that no longer requires fertilizer purchases. Every garden practicing Terra Preta principles is a garden exiting the depletion economy. This is agricultural sovereignty, not rejecting modern knowledge, but integrating ancient wisdom that modern systems deliberately ignored. The fertilizer industry cannot stop you from making biochar. They cannot prevent you from improving your soil permanently. Their only weapon was your ignorance. And that weapon fails the moment you learn. What Francisco de Orellana saw in 1541, what Wim Sambroke documented in 1966, and what indigenous Amazonians knew for 2,000 years. Fertility can be permanent. Soil can be built. Agriculture does not require depletion. The soil that refuses to die is waiting. Not in Amazon exclusively. Wherever someone creates biochar and incorporates it properly with organic matter. The question the fertilizer industry doesn't want you asking: if Terra Preta worked for 2,000 years, why aren't we using it now? And the question they fear most: what happens when everyone learns?